Hi, everybody. How's it going?
Great.
Good. Well, I'm glad you guys could make it. We've still got a couple minutes, but I always like to log on early. Um, so we'll start in just a minute. All right. So tonight we're doing the social studies, and we're going to do one competency as much as we can from one competency. At least I'm hoping to finish one competency. So we'll see if we have time. Um, But before we get started, I would love to hear who's already teaching. Is anybody already teaching?
I've been teaching for 3 years.
That's great. That's great. And anybody else already teaching? Or not yet? Who's excited about teaching? How about that? That should be more people.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Oh, that's great. I remember being so excited and so nervous too. Nervous about these tests, right? They are nerve-wracking, but the core subjects is a tough test. If we go to the Texas NESINC manual, which is the free manual, click on prepare, and then we scroll down and click on core subjects. We can learn more about the test, right? And this is totally free. It's really more like a starting point, not a preparation guide. I wouldn't call it that. That's what they call it. Now, if we look at overview and exam framework, you can see what the test entails, right? Some of you guys, I bet, have already taken this, but some of you maybe haven't taken it yet. So you need to budget for 5 whole hours to be there and be with lots of, energy. So you can see what we're talking about tonight is social studies, 15 minutes, and you have 40 questions. So it's not a lot of time per question, and that can be a factor, right? So you have to get quick at answering these questions. There's free questions in this manual that I definitely recommend you check out, right? But you need a good study guide or a course to do well on this test. So we'll talk about that tonight too. But some of you guys already know me, right? And have my material, and some of you don't know me. So in case you're wondering who am I and how could I even help you guys, I want to show you that I've taken 15 of these Texas exams now and passed them all on my first try, right? So I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I know how to pass these tests and I know how to help other people pass these tests. So tonight you're going to learn a lot of great information, and you can see that, I have some reviews on Facebook that people have tried me after trying other programs and have been successful. So you can see, my testimonials. So that's why I would be able to help you and why you're going to get some good information tonight. But yeah, so let me see. We'll get started. Yes. Well, one other thing I want to tell you, because you're not alone. If you're struggling with this test, let me show you something. So if we look at the data that the state puts out, this is the passing rates. And this is for finishers, guys. So this is for people that are already teaching. So I think these numbers are a little bit higher. The passing rate is probably higher than people that are not teaching. That's what I think. But this is the data we have to go off of. So if we look at core subjects, we only want to be looking at the ones in the 900s. The 800s are the old tests. You can see from the most recent year that they posted, the social studies passing rate was 75%, right? Down from 79%, right? But if we look at science is higher, math is a little bit lower, fine arts is higher, ELAR is higher. And this lines up exactly with what I hear from people consistently. People need help with social studies and math. I hear that all the time. Now, sometimes with the other subjects too, but those are the most common, and it makes sense because they have the highest failure rate, right? So you're not alone if you've had to take this test more than once. And I've heard from people that have tried lots of different programs, those big companies, I don't have to say their names, you know who I'm talking about, that have really good study material, but it doesn't always work for everybody. Sometimes they're overwhelming and it's hard to navigate through it. So mine is real simple and concise, but it still has everything you need to know to pass. So I thought tonight I was planning this session, and at first I was going to do competency 1 because it would allow me to finish on time. But I don't think it's the competency that people need the most help on. So I thought, well, we're going to try to talk fast and get through competency 5 because I think people need more help on maybe 2, but 2 is way too long. That's history. And we can't do that one tonight, but we can do government and citizenship. And most people need help on that. So this is on government and citizenship. So some of this is real common knowledge, right? But some of it we'll get to is not as easy to remember. So we know democracy, right, is a form of government in which supreme power is invested in the people and exercised directly by them or by their elected agents under a free electoral system, right? So how did we get democracy? Most historians think the Athenians in Greece created the concept of democracy in the 6th century BC, right? So where citizens could vote. But of course, citizens was only certain people, right? Excluded women, slaves, minors, and people not from Greece. Only adult males, basically. Rules and laws. So we have to know the purpose and of rules and laws, the relationship between them, right? The fundamental rights of American citizens guaranteed in the Bill of Rights. So laws are created to ensure freedom, safety, and morals in a society. Rules are also made to create order and ensure safety. Rights are protected freedoms that belong to all American citizens, such as the right to freedom of religion. Responsibilities are duties that all citizens have and should do. Voting is a right and a responsibility, right? We're not forced to vote. Did you know that in some countries, people are forced to vote? They get fined if they don't vote. So here it's voluntary, but it's a privilege that we should exercise. Citizens must follow rules and laws to continue to have rights and privileges. For example, convicted felons lose the right to vote, right? The Bill of Rights and other amendments to the United States Constitution outline the rights and responsibilities of American citizens. The Bill of Rights, as you probably know, are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. Now, you don't have to know every last amendment, but I'm going to tell you the ones that you do need to know, right? That are most likely to come up on the test. Definitely the first 10. You want to know all of those. So we'll briefly talk about this. There's way more to it than this, right? If you go to the Congress website and read all of it, it's longer, but this is what you need to know. The First Amendment, freedom of speech and press, freedom to peaceably assemble, freedom of religion. Second Amendment, we probably know that one, the right to bear arms, right? Very controversial. Third Amendment prohibits the government from making homeowners house soldiers. That's called quartering. Remember that during the Revolutionary War, colonists were forced to house soldiers. So whenever we created the Bill of Rights, they made sure to put this in there to protect us from having to do that, right? Fourth Amendment prohibits unreasonable search and seizure of a person. Fifth Amendment, you've probably heard this, right? To plead the fifth, protects people accused of crimes by stating that serious criminal charges must have a grand jury. That's not the part we're talking about, but there's more to it. A person cannot be tried more than once for the same offense. People do not have to incriminate themselves. That's what we're talking about with pleading the fifth. People cannot be put in prison without due process or a fair trial, and property cannot be taken away unless there is just compensation. The Sixth Amendment is the right to a public and speedy trial, a trial by an impartial jury in criminal cases, and to be told of criminal charges, right? So you have the right to remain silent whenever you're arrested. You have that read to you. The Seventh Amendment guarantees the right to a jury trial even in federal civil cases. Eighth Amendment prohibits excessive fines and bail as well as cruel and unusual punishment. And then the Ninth Amendment outlines that specific rights of the people are not limited to those in the Constitution. So that means just because it's not written in the Constitution doesn't mean we don't have that right. And then the 10th Amendment states that the federal government is limited to only the powers granted to it by the US Constitution. All other powers belong to the states or to the people, right? So those are the first 10. You do want to know all of those. Again, that's called the Bill of Rights, right? So you want to know all of those. And then we have down here other important amendments. So you don't have to know like the 11th and the 12th, right? But we need to know the 13th prohibited slavery. The 14th granted citizenship to all males or naturalized in the US, regardless of race. And then the 15th Amendment granted the right to vote to all male citizens, regardless of race, color, or previous status as a slave. So notice these are all really related to the Civil War, the end of the Civil War, right? 13, 14, 15. Slavery, citizenship, right to vote for all males, right? And slavery is prohibited for everybody, male and women. 16th Amendment established the federal income tax. You might think of it like this: when you turn 16, that's when you start working a lot of times and when you start paying those taxes, right? The 18th Amendment was prohibition, where the sale of liquor was prohibited. And then I always skip to the 21st, and that's when it was overturned. So I always think of the legal ages. 18 prohibited, 21 overturned it, right? So that helps me remember it. The 19th Amendment was when women were given the right to vote. And then the 22nd Amendment limits the president to serve only 2 terms. So those are the amendments you have to know. All right. And then citizens should vote, like we said, and obey all laws, right? And report any crimes or suspicious activities. Structure and function of government, right? So we need to know the structure and functions of the US government, the Texas government, and local governments. Is anybody here not from Texas?
I'm not.
You're not? Yeah. So if you're not from Texas, you missed out on Texas history in school, right? In school, we learned Texas history in 7th grade. So you learn about the Texas Constitution and the Alamo, all of the Texas history. So that can make it a little bit harder, but all stuff you can definitely learn. So the branches of the US federal government, this would be the same as what you would have learned anywhere else. From Texas and still don't understand it. That's okay. That's why I have a job, right? And honestly, even though I've passed all of these tests, I still, before I take a new test, I always have to brush up on this stuff too, right? So it's normal. We don't think about the Texas Constitution on a daily basis, but we can look it up and learn. So the federal government, the legislative branch, is composed of 2 houses of Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives, right? So each state has 2 elected senators for a total of 50. There's 435 elected representatives in the House of Representatives, and each state gets representatives depending on their population. So the legislative branch, think of laws, the L, right? They make laws, confirm and reject appointments made by the president, and have the power to declare war. That's the legislative branch, so Congress, right? Then we have the executive branch. This is the president, but also the executive departments, including agencies, commissions, and committees. They carry out and enforce laws. So the E in executive and the E in enforce. They enforce laws, carry them out. Then the judicial branch. The judicial branch includes the Supreme Court, other federal courts, and the organizations that provide them with support, right? So the judges, right? The J and judicial, and then the judges on the Supreme Court and all of the other lower courts. Now for the Texas government, like the federal government, the Texas government is composed of executive, legislative, and judicial branches. So for the executive branch, we have a governor, right, who's elected for a 4-year term. Other state leaders include the lieutenant governor, attorney general, comptroller of public accounts, commissioner of agriculture, commissioner of general land offer. Just like for the federal branch, they enforce laws, carry out and enforce laws. For the legislative branch, is composed of 181 members, including 31 state senators and 150 members from the House of Representatives. Senators serve 4-year terms, while the House of Representatives serve 2-year terms. They make the laws. So remember the L in legislative and L in laws. Then the judicial branch of Texas includes 9 judges of the state Supreme Court, 9 members serving on the Court of Criminal Appeals, and other members that serve on other courts of appeals, state district courts, county courts, as well as justices of the peace and municipal court judges. The judicial branch interprets laws and decides how they should be applied. And then for local governments, at least when I wrote this, there were 254 counties and 1,216 incorporated municipalities, cities, and towns. The relationship among these governments. So the federal government, you might already know, is responsible for national security, foreign policy, admitting new states, amending the Constitution, borrowing money, printing money, regulating commerce, handling federal taxation, establishing and maintaining post offices, punishing federal crimes, and handling immigration. Next, we have state governments, right? So the states and the people have the rights that are not specifically reserved for the federal government. We learned about that when we went over the Bill of Rights. States make state laws, collect taxes, enforce laws, maintain state parks, and grant driver's licenses, vehicle registration, handle birth and death certificates, unemployment, and licensing for professionals, right? Just like you guys, when you get your certificate, it's going to be from TEA, from the Texas Education Agency, right? Local governments, usually municipalities, including cities and towns, are responsible for police and fire departments, emergency medical services, public transportation, public works, municipal courts, housing services, schools, parks, and recreation. At times, there is disagreement over the role of federal government and the role of the states, or between state and local governments. State and federal courts decide how to interpret the law. For example, in the case Gibbons versus Ogden, the Supreme Court reinforced that commerce regulations belong to the federal government, and the state cannot grant a monopoly to anyone to exclusively use a waterway. So that's one of the court cases you need to know. There's a handful of cases you need to know. That's one of them. How federal government services are financed. The federal government, through the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, it collects federal income tax, payroll taxes, as well as corporate income taxes. There are also excise taxes, estate taxes, capital gains, and some other excises and taxes. And then the government uses this money to pay for the services it provides and to compensate its employees, right? How state government services are financed. Some states collect income taxes, some collect sales tax, and some collect both. Texas does not have a state income tax, but it does have a 6.25% sales tax. You might be thinking, no, it's more like 8%, right? That's because the county also charges about 2%. States also receive money from the federal government and can collect money from lotteries, licenses, fees, fines, and penalties. How local government services are financed. Counties and cities collect revenue from property tax and sales tax and use this money for schools, roads, and other services. Most cities in Texas collect a 1.5% to 2% sales tax. So if you add that together, it's around 8%. Property taxes vary by county, right? So even though Texas doesn't have a state income tax, people pay a lot of property taxes. So if you own a house, you know that you're paying a lot of money in property taxes. And if you rent an apartment, well, the reason your rent is high is partly because property taxes are high. Okay. But that helps fund our schools. All right, demonstrate knowledge of key principles and ideas contained in major political documents, like the Declaration of Independence. Let's see how we're doing. We're doing pretty well. The U.S. Constitution, Texas Constitution, and relationship among political documents. So the Declaration of Independence tells us that people have unalienable rights, right? Like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All men are created equal. When a government becomes oppressive, the people have the right to abolish it and begin a new government. The British government had a long list of abuses against the colonies, including standing armies, forcing colonists to house soldiers, protecting soldiers from crimes by having mock trials, and suspending the colonist legislatures and legislating for them. Taxation without representation, right? The U.S. is a free country absolved of its allegiance to the British crown, can wage war, make treaties, conduct commerce, and perform other duties as any other independent country would. That's called national sovereignty. And the U.S. is breaking away from England with the authority of the good people of these colonies, popular sovereignty. So that's the Declaration of Independence. The U.S. Constitution, outlines the separation of powers among the executive branch, judicial branch, and legislative branch. Right, description of the powers vested in each branch, the process to amend the Constitution, division of federal and state power, protection of personal liberty, right? More detailed protection of personal liberty is listed in the Bill of Rights. But Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution protects people from ex post facto laws, which means people cannot be punished for doing something that was not illegal at the time they did it. And permanent protections of the Constitution. So that's the US Constitution. The Texas Constitution, popular sovereignty. The writers of the Constitution of Texas state that all political power is inherent in the people. Republicanism. The Constitution outlines a republican form of government in which the people elect leaders. So if you see republicanism, sometimes people get that confused with the Republican Party, but that's different, right? The Republican Party is a political party. Republicanism is a form of government, right? Where people elect their leaders. Federalism, so that means some powers belong to the federal government, but those not listed as federal powers in the US Constitution are reserved for the states or the people. That was the 10th Amendment we learned about. Separation of powers. There are 3 branches of the government in Texas, including the legislative, executive, and judicial branch that we talked about. Checks and balances. Each branch can check the other 2 branches, which ensures that no branch will exceed its power. And then limited government. The power that the state government has is limited by the powers listed in the state constitution, the US Constitution, and any other relevant laws made by the US Congress and treaties. As a result, the governor, legislature, and courts can only perform the functions that are granted them. So that's limited government. And then individual rights. The people of Texas hold personal freedoms and protection, as well as equality under the law, as granted by the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the laws of the country, the state constitution, and the Texas Bill of Rights. Next, we have how people organize governments in colonial America. So you could read whole books on this, right? But I try to just pick out the most important stuff. While under British supervision, American colonies grew and eventually declared their independence. The 13 colonies were grouped into 3 classes: the proprietary, the royal, and the charter colonies. In the proprietary colonies, Delaware, Maryland, and Pennsylvania, a small group of individual controlled the colony. In the royal colonies, New Hampshire, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, the king was in direct control and appointed the governor as administrator. And then in the charter colonies, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Maryland, although still operated as a royal colony, the king allowed the people of the colonies to govern themselves under a set of rules or charter. Somebody was asking if we're going to get a recording. That's my plan, as long as the video converts okay, and I'm sure it will. There've been very rare occasions where the video doesn't convert, but that's my plan. How people organize governments in the early development of Texas. When Texas declared its independence from Mexico in 1836, the Republic of Texas was established, as well as a new constitution. The Texas Constitution came from major portions of the US Constitution, which included separation of powers into the 3 branches that we talked about with checks and balances. Also included is the House of Representatives and the Senate. The Texas Constitution has been amended more than 450 times. All right, political processes in the US. They determine the outcomes for us as citizens. Elections allow voters to give fellow citizens the power to enact laws, write budgets, and appoint federal judges. Policy has the best interest of public in mind, right? Citizens can vote at the age of 18, make donations, and make their voices heard toward the government. The political party in power has control over the policies enacted, and the majority opinion tends to prevail in our political process, right? Not always. We know with the Electoral College, that's a little bit different. Political processes in Texas. The legislature of the state of Texas is the state's lawmaking body. The legislature established public policy by passing bills and resolutions, as well as making or proposing any amendments to the Texas Constitution, which are then passed or not passed by Texas voters, right? All right, so now we have types of government. A democratic government, the power is given to the people, right? In Europe, a democratically based government was seen as superior to the monarchies. They are based on rule of law. It would be difficult for a direct democracy to be efficient in a large, diverse population. So there is an indirect or representative democracy where representatives are chosen to make decisions for the people. The criticism of democracy is that the representation tends to go to wealthier or elitists, right? Australia and Canada are examples of democratic countries. Then we have a totalitarian government, that's a dictatorship. So there's one person in charge. Citizens are not allowed freedom. So brutal tactics are used, like in North Korea, where citizens are severely restricted and cannot even use the internet. In Iraq, prisoners are tortured and women are persecuted, right? And then we have monarchical government. This is where there's a single individual, king or queen, typically rules for life and has executive power. Monarchies are usually hereditary, where the office is handed down from one generation to the next, right? So we know in the UK, right, they have the monarchy. All right, formal process of changing the US Constitution. I do expect you'll see questions about how the Constitution is amended. Article 5 of the US Constitution outlines how amendments can be made. Yes, you'll also need to know that about the states. The US Congress can propose an amendment with a 2/3 majority in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. A constitutional convention set up by at least 2/3 of the state legislators may propose an amendment. So those are the two ways. The document then goes to the National Archives and Records Administration Office to be processed and published. The archivist then submits the amendment that has been proposed to the states for them to consider it. Each state's governor receives a letter and submits it to the state legislatures, or the state calls for a convention, depending on what Congress directed. A proposed amendment needs to be ratified by at least 3/4 of the states, which is 38 out of 50, in order to become part of the US Constitution. Informal processes of changing the Constitution. The judicial and executive branches can use alternate ways to change the US Constitution. For example, the US Constitution states that Congress has the power to declare war. However, because the president is commander-in-chief, many presidents have used executive order and have declared war without congressional approval. Also, as social and cultural beliefs change, this can eventually affect Congress, who has the ability to propose an amendment. For example, when many people in American society believe that all men should have the right to vote regardless of race, the 15th Amendment was proposed and ratified. This would not have been possible if social beliefs had not changed, right? And it also wouldn't have been possible without the Civil War. All right, next you have impact of changes on society. Citizenship for African Americans, right to vote for African Americans, right to vote for women. The abolitionist efforts helped bring an end to slavery, and the civil rights movement provided legal protection to prevent discrimination based on race. Women's suffrage activists helped women gain the right to vote. By influencing culture and society, individuals in our country work together to improve society, right? There's still more work to be done, always. Formal processes of changing the Texas Constitution. So we already talked about the US, now this Texas Constitution. To change the Texas Constitution, at least 2/3 of all members of each house of the Senate of the state legislature must propose an amendment at a regular biennial session or at a special session, as long as the subject of the amendment was included in the purpose of the meeting. Proposed amendments must be publicized and submitted to the voters. To be adopted, an amendment must have a majority of votes in favor of it. The legislature writes the verbiage for the amendments. Right? So at least 2/3 of the members of the House and Senate must propose it at a session, right? And it has to be as the subject of the amendment included, right? Then it's sent to the voters, and it has to have a majority. So that's a recap. Informal processes of changing the Constitution. An informal way to change the Texas Constitution is when culture and society changes and the legislature moves forward with the new beliefs. Sometimes concerned citizens contact the legislature to ask them to propose amendments. Is that better? Some people said I needed to scroll. I think that's better, right? All right, and then amendments to the Texas Constitution have changed voting laws, railroad tariffs, banking, and the way education is funded. For example, an amendment to the state constitution allows members of the armed forces that are residents of Texas to vote in Texas, right? Also, an amendment to the constitution allows bank in Texas to incorporate. Okay, great. So I was hoping we could finish everything, but there's no way we're gonna finish everything, but I still think it was better than doing competency one. So you can see there's still more to go, like the Supreme Court cases, but I wanted to leave time for some questions. So you could see some sample questions and talk about tips and strategies to answer those, right? All right, so I'll ask these questions and then you can put in the chat box your answer. Which of the following is true about the earliest form of democracy? So we talked about this one at the beginning. So A is maybe tempting because we did say Greece was the first one, but remember, not all people had the right to vote. So we can eliminate A because not everybody had the right to vote. And then B looks good, but we always look at all options, right? Most people did say that they had the first form of democracy and only males could vote. And then Greece had a form of democracy allowing all native-born citizens to vote. No, not women. And then ancient Greece is known for having the earliest democracy, but almost all historians believe some native groups actually had forms of democracy before Greece. No. So B is correct. I don't know what's going on here. I can't click on the, there's something wrong. There we go. All right. Let's see if you guys remember this, and I'll show you what happens if we get it wrong. Which amendment protects people from search and seizure without a warrant? Maybe you were taking notes, or maybe you have these memorized already. So I think people are saying B. So while you guys were paying attention, the Fourth Amendment protects against search and seizure without a warrant, right? So notice how in my course, it will tell you why the other answers are incorrect too. So you can, this will reinforce your learning as you're learning, right? And very simple, right? This is all easy to read because I'm not a professor. I do have a master's degree and I'm certified to teach, but I'm not like super academic. So I don't write in a real fancy language that's harder to understand. So everything's real simple. Let's see if y'all remember this one. I'm seeing mixed answers, but mostly B's. Good. Now remember, the president can declare war in some cases, right, with his executive power, but the legislative branch has the power to declare war. Sometimes the president does it, but the legislative branch actually has the power to do that. Why is it not C? Not the judicial branch. They don't do that. So this one, we got to pay close attention to this. I'm glad this one came up. This one says select all that apply. You should expect to see that on your test. So you want to carefully look at all options, pick all the ones that are right and eliminate any that are not. So let's see if you guys are picking all that apply. Yeah, judicial system is the court system, the Supreme Court and the lower courts. So let's see what you guys think about this one. So I'm seeing A and B. Very well done. So we might be getting to some that we didn't cover yet because we didn't finish the competency. Let's see if you guys remember this one. I'm seeing C. So C is correct. The proprietary colonies, Delaware, Maryland, and Pennsylvania, where a small group controlled the colony. Did you guys learn a lot tonight so far? Yes, I'm glad. I'm glad. Yes, it is a lot of information. And we weren't even able to finish it. I was hoping we could finish it, but we got a lot of questions in. So some of you guys already have my course and already know how it works. But if you don't, you can see everything's based on the competencies. It's got realistic questions that I think are very similar to what you'll see on the real test. And if you also need help on math, I have tutoring for math that we meet every Sunday at 8 o'clock. So that's why I have to end in a few minutes to get ready for that. So if you need help with math, I have tutoring, and it's kind of like this. We meet on Zoom for a whole hour though, go over the material, how to work out the questions and everything like that. If you need help with social studies, I have a great course for social studies. And if you need all subjects, I have a bundle where you get a discount if you need all of the subjects. So I'll put the link in here, and then also a coupon code that I'm giving to the people that attended tonight. So these are not actual test questions, right? Some people are asking, no, I cannot release actual test questions. That goes against the code of ethics, and it also goes against the affidavit that you sign. But let me look up the coupon code because I forgot the coupon code that I made for you guys. So 1 second. So they're not real test questions, but they're very similar to what you'll see on the real test. Because that's the benefit of working with me. I've taken the test that you guys take, right? And I only make material for the Texas exams. So, and today only, there's a coupon code for today only, and it's 10 today for 10% off. So you can save 10%. And then, yeah, so I've passed these tests and been tutoring for 10 years, helping lots of people pass, even people that have been unsuccessful with other ones. The only way I know really is to get a good course that's aligned to the competencies, and then take notes, make Quizlets, flashcards, record yourself, play it back. You know, my course has videos too. So a lot of people tell me they listen to that, they sit down and actually read the material, but then when they're like doing laundry or dishes or cooking or cleaning, they press play and listen to me talking about it, right? So that's a way to reinforce it. But I think if you give my course a try, you'll see it's not as overwhelming as a lot of other programs out there, but it's still very thorough. It has everything you need to know, but nothing extra. For example, like in the world history section of my course, I do include it because it says it could be on the test. But when I took the test, there was like maybe one question on world history, if even. And I consistently hear that from people all the time, that it's real heavy on Texas history and US history, but not world history. So in my course, I tell you that you're probably not going to see that. I have it in there just in case, but that way you can focus your efforts on the parts that are going to get you the most results, right? That's my goal, is to get you the quickest results with the least amount of effort. We want to learn, right? But honestly, just because you'll get EC through 6 certified doesn't mean you're ever going to be teaching world history. You're probably not, right? So I don't think we need to know every last detail about the Chinese dynasties and all of that, right? So I include it, but I'll tell you what you need to focus on, just like the amendments, right? I don't include all the amendments because you don't need to know all of them. So does anybody have any questions or comments or anything?
I was wondering, the coupon, can it be used on any of your courses? So say like, I need to pass social studies and math, but I think I can get social studies. You gave a lot of good information tonight.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yes, you can do any, I put it for all of them, because if you need STR, if you need any of the stuff that I have it for. And yes, so I can show you how much everything is. I have it priced very reasonable. So if you want to do all subjects, you can pay by the month if you want to, $39.99 a month, or you can pay a one-time fee for $80 and get it for 3 months. So that's cheaper, right? Then you get it for 3 whole months. And honestly, I'm pretty flexible. If you need it for an extra month, I don't make you and pay again. If you need it for 3 more months, that's different. But just for 1 more month, I can extend it. And then the individual subjects are only $19.99 a month, or you can pay a one-time fee of $39 to get it for 3 months. So if you need more than 2 subjects, then you just want to get the bundle, right? Yeah, for the recording tonight, after it converts, it has to convert. I'll have to email it to you guys, and it'll probably be kind of late tonight because I have tutoring at 8 o'clock for the math. And in fact, if you're struggling with math, my math tutoring is going really well. We cover 1 competency per Sunday, and I have a great group. It's a small group of people, and we go over tips and strategies. So if you're struggling with math, that's a great way. And that link is not on here, but if anybody needs it, let me know, and I can pull up. It's a private link because I don't advertise that on my Wayne site, but I can get it if anybody needs math tutoring.
You mind sending it to me, please?
I'm sorry, what's that?
You mind sending the math tutoring to
Oh,
me, please?
sure. Yeah, let me pull it up. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. And so 1 second, let me get that link because I don't like to confuse people. And also the reason I don't do it is because if I ever have to discontinue it, I don't want people signing up. But right now there's no danger of that because I've got enough people to keep a group, but that changes from week to week. So I like to control who signs up. That way I don't have people signing up if I'm not, if I'm not going to be able to offer it. So I just tell people about it. But let me pull it up. That's more expensive, of course, because it's tutoring every week, but it does come with the course. Charlie, I believe you already have the course, but this also has recordings from past tutorings, so you would still get something, a benefit, even though it's the rest of the course is the same. It's going to have all the recordings from the sessions we already had. So we've already had 3 sessions. So you'd get all of those recordings, which is great, a great value. I'm not charging separately for that. So that means anybody can catch up, even when they're joining, they don't have to wait however many more weeks. So if you need math tutoring and my course, then you don't want to buy the math course separately. You just do this and it comes with it. But that's a weekly charge. I want to make sure you know that because it's not a one-time charge or a monthly charge. It's every week you're paying for tutoring, but there's no obligation, no contract. You just cancel anytime. And in fact, I make it super easy to cancel. You just log on and on your account, click on billing and cancel, or you can text me and I'll cancel for you because it's never my goal to keep you longer. I'm not trying to keep you enrolled if you're done. So I make it super easy to cancel. So I've got 4 people enrolled, but in 1 week, one guy is about to test. He's done. So it's just going to be 3 people after today. So it's a real small group, and that way they can ask questions and get individual help, but a lot cheaper than private tutoring. So that'd be great. Any other questions or comments?
So I'm on a time crunch.
Yeah.
I have to take my test by the 31st,
Yes.
and I'm only taking math and social studies sections. So you said you only do the math tutoring every Sunday?
Yeah, every Sunday, but luckily I did put all the recordings in there so you can catch up. It'll be every Sunday. So you could do today we're doing competency 4, and then we'll do 5 and 6. So you'd actually get the last 3 competencies. There's 6 competencies in math, and then you can watch the recordings from the first 3. So you'd only pay for 3 weeks, and then you could buy the social studies separately, just as a one-time fee. Actually, I would do the monthly because you only need it for 1 month. That'll save you money. Just pay for 1 month and then cancel. And you can even cancel right after you pay. That way you don't forget. If you're like me, like I'll forget and get billed for another month, and then I'm mad that I signed up for a subscription, right? But if you cancel right away, it still keeps your access for the whole month. It's kind of like 240 tutoring. They do the same thing. You can cancel anytime. I bought 240 tutoring because I was doing some tutoring for a test that I don't have material for yet. So I was using it we both bought it and we were using it for tutoring. And I went ahead and canceled it way before I was really done with it. But I just didn't want to get billed another month, you know. But they still keep your access until the 1 month period is up, and I do the same thing. So
Okay, so do you do a month like the 1st to the 31st, or say if I did a 1 month or the 3 month? Like, how do you do your months? Is it month?
It's just like today, if you pay, you get it for 90 days from today. Or I think I put it for 91 that way, or 92. It's around there, like 91 or 92 to make it 3 months. So it's just based off the day you pay, it's counted out 90 days from then. So for you, because you're taking your test to the end of this month, you would just do the monthly. And then if you forget to cancel, it'll bill you again on August 14th. But between you and me, like you're telling me right now, you only need it 1 month. So I'll probably just go in and cancel for you tonight after you pay, or you can do that. You can go in and cancel or text me. That way you don't get billed
I
again.
might keep it so that if I need it again for whatever reason, because I have really bad test anxiety. So
Well, let me tell you, I have a test anxiety course too. And if you enroll tonight, I'll give you access to my test anxiety course. I've heard from multiple people that have told me that's the main reason they passed their test. It wasn't my content, it was my test anxiety course. And one lady even wanted to buy it for her son who's in medical school, and he didn't pass his MCAT. He got too low of a score to get accepted to med school. So she wanted to buy it for him, but she's been such a good client. I just gave her access for him, a separate account. So I think you'll find it very helpful. So I'll add that to your dashboard tonight if you buy either program. So that'll, and I don't know of anybody else that has one quite like that. I'm not a mental health expert, that I'm a teacher and a tutor, right?
Yeah.
But I've had anxiety almost my whole life, like since I was 5 years old. I always had anxiety really bad. And I haven't had it for years because I finally got the right help that I needed. It took lots and lots of trial and error, but I did cognitive behavioral therapy. You might have heard of that. It's all science-based. And of course, I took medicine and saw my therapist. And now I don't need to see a therapist anymore. And I don't have to do the cognitive behavioral worksheets anymore because I've retrained my brain to just do it automatically. So of course I still get a little nervous here and there about something, but I know how to reframe those thoughts. So yeah, so I think if I can do that tonight too, in addition to the coupon. If you enroll tonight, I can give you the test anxiety course. So I have to do it separately. So it'll be me adding it. So if you don't see it on your dashboard, just feel free to email me or text me and I'll add it. But I should remember tonight to do that after I check the orders. Because I think you guys are going to really find that test anxiety course super helpful. And it's got I paid my good friend who's a yoga and meditation expert to do a guided meditation to teach you how to calm your mind. So it has a worksheet that you do and it has a guided meditation. And I recommend you do them all the time, and it's just a few minutes a day. It's not something that takes a long time, but it can really help. Because that can, and also one thing I want to tell you guys, if you don't have enough time to take the test, if the 5 hours is not enough, you can apply for alternative testing arrangements. You might not get it, but you can apply for it. And some people get time and a half on their test. So I can put the link right here.
Thank you so much for all that.
Oh, you're welcome. I love what I do. You can probably tell that I just love it. And I'm thinking about launching group tutoring for social studies. If I get enough people interested, I have one more night a week that I could tutor. I'm pretty busy, but if I get 3 people, then I could do group tutoring for social studies. So if I have 3 people that want to do that, then we'd meet just like this for an hour and go over the material. So I can, if you are interested, let me know tonight and I'll put together a group. It would have to be Monday nights at 8 o'clock Central PM, but I would send the recording. So it's, if you can't attend, you would still be able to catch up, but it's always best if you can attend. It's also fun because you get to meet other people that are doing the same thing as you, right? And, you know, sometimes I learn from these sessions too. People teach me like mnemonic devices, or they'll share a Quizlet with me that they made, and then we all share new resources. So like the other day, I learned a new way to find the square root. Like I've always just done the square root where trial and error, you multiply this by this until you figure out what it is. But there's a long division trick to finding the square root. And I learned that from one of my students, one of my clients that actually really struggles with math, but for whatever reason, she's got that down really well. So she taught all of us that method last week. But I guess I better go because I've got to get ready for my 8 o'clock, get all my files open and everything. But I want to thank you guys so much for taking time. A lot of people sign up for free things and then don't show up, but you guys made it a priority, and I thank you because it's always, you know, better when we have a nice group. So thank you so much. If you guys have any questions, feel free to call me tomorrow or text me or email me, and I'll try my best to send that recording tonight. And the coupon code again was 10 today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love it. And best of luck to everybody. I always tell everybody that if you're spiritual or religious, to say a prayer, right? Or if you're not into that, if it's the universe, whatever it is for you, you know, to thank God in advance for your passing score and put up your score all over your house, like a 260, right? And that retrains your subconscious to think positive and to take the steps you need to pass. So I do that every month. I have a goal that I'm working on, and I put it up on my phone, on my desk, and then I'm thanking God in advance that it's worked out for me, right? Even though it hasn't yet, I'm showing that gratitude in advance. It's very powerful. It's called the law of attraction. Yes, I will see about getting a social studies group together if I can get enough people, but thank you guys so much.
We want to sign up for all the courses. You said that we could pay for 3 months or so.
You can do 3 months for $80 if you need all subjects, or it's $39.99 a month and you cancel anytime. So depending on how long you're planning to study for.
Okay.
Yes, and let me send the link one more time because I know how
Yes,
those links, they go away in the chat box. So you would select this one that says all subject courses and practice tests. I think I stopped sharing my screen, so I'm talking like I'm sharing my screen, but you'll see the one that says all subjects. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. Oh, and also if y'all could help me spread the word, because, you know, for the core subjects, there's lots of programs out there, right? And so people have a hard time finding me because I don't spend money on Google ads or Facebook ads. So I really rely on just people like you sharing the word for me. And I really appreciate that. That way I don't have to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on ads. I can just rely on people like you to get my name out there. So thank you so much. Oh, great. Well, I've got to run, but I'll hopefully see y'all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.